What if I told you cutting her off isn't the punishment you think it is? You might believe that going no contact will shatter her, that the silence will echo through her chest and break her down. But here's the hard truth. Most women expect it. They've seen it. They've even prepared for it. No contact might stop the noise, but it doesn't destroy the ego. It doesn't flip the power dynamic. It doesn't make her regret. You're here because you were loyal. You were all in. You gave her your trust, your time, your energy. And when she walked away, she didn't just leave you lonely. She left you questioning your worth. That's not a wound. That's an awakening. This video isn't about petty revenge. It's not about begging her back. It's about becoming the man whose silence isn't just the absence of words, but the presence of power. We're going deeper than no contact. We're rewiring your mind, rebuilding your frame, and reawakening the force inside you that makes her wish she never let go. This is Stoic Hab, and today we show you how to crush her ego without ever lifting a finger. If you're done being haunted by her memory, if you're ready to crush the ego that crushed you, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below, "I rise from rejection." Now let's go deeper. 1. Burn the illusion. You're not grieving her. You're grieving the idea of her, the fantasy. You created the version of her that only ever lived in your mind. The woman who said the right things, touched your soul, maybe even promised forever. That woman was a projection, a mask built out of your loyalty, your hope, your need to believe someone could finally see you and never let go. But what did she actually do? Did she walk away without explanation? Did she breadcrumb? You play the victim, run to another man while you were still bleeding. That's not love. That's not loyalty. That's ego. Every time you replay old messages or cling to memories where she seemed different, you're feeding that illusion. You're keeping her elevated in a place she no longer deserves. This is the first strike in crushing her ego. You must burn the pedestal. Because every time you replay the fantasy, you give her power. You validate her. You keep her inflated in your mind. If you keep seeing her as rare, special, someone you lost, she wins. A Stoic man sees things for what they are, not what he wishes they were. You've got to let go of that image you've been worshiping. That fantasy is your cage. When you finally look at her without the filter of emotion, you'll see the flaws you ignored, the patterns you excused, the red flags you repainted white. She wasn't your soulmate. She was your teacher, and the lesson: stop loving potential. Stop romanticizing chaos. Start respecting yourself more than your attachment. Burn the illusion, and in the ashes you'll find the truth. She didn't break your heart. She exposed where you had no boundaries. 2. Become unreachable. No contact is basic. It's the bare minimum. Any man can disappear physically, block her, mute her, walk away. That's not power, that's default. If you want to truly crush her ego, you need to go deeper. You need to become unreachable, not just to her fingers, but to her influence. That means no emotional leaks, no Instagram stories posted for her, no quotes designed to sting, no subtle messages begging her to notice the new you. Because here's the truth: if she knows you still care, she still controls you. If she can still trigger you with silence, a cryptic post, or her name showing up in your notifications, she's winning. A Stoic man does not play to lose. To become unreachable, you have to stop reacting and start mastering detachment. This isn't about acting cold. It's about being in control. You don't check her socials. You don't ask mutuals how she's doing. You don't let her live rent-free in your thoughts. You reclaim your inner fortress, because that's what she's trying to breach. Not your phone, not your house, your peace of mind. Women used to attention, hate indifference. They crave a reaction, even a negative one, but silence paired with zero emotional residue, that's torment. That's when the what-ifs creep in. That's when the ego shatters. Not when you disappear, but when you vanish from caring. Unreachable means she doesn't know what you're feeling, thinking, or planning. And that mystery, that's magnetic. You become the unknown, the question mark in her head that keeps her awake. When she can't predict you, she panics. She wonders if she really had the impact she thought. That's when the balance shifts. That's when you rise. 3. Master the void. Most men fear the silence. They treat it like a waiting room, something to endure until she reaches out, regrets, or returns. But that mindset, that's weakness disguised as patience. If you want to flip the script, you don't survive the silence, you master it. You turn the void into your domain. A Stoic doesn't run from emptiness. He owns it. Here's the secret: the void is where transformation begins. Not in chaos, not in arguments, not in fake closure, but in the silence where there's no distraction, no dopamine, no validation. That's where you meet your real self. The part still bleeding, the part needing rebuilding, the part she never truly understood. And that's where the power lies. While she distracts herself, chases attention, or pretends she's unfazed, you go deep. You stack discipline. You become sharper, colder, more focused. You turn silence into your gym, your temple, your battlefield. The man who sits comfortably with nothing, no validation, no affection, no noise, is the man who becomes everything. Mastering the void means you stop obsessing over when she'll notice and start obsessing over what you're becoming. You detach not just from her, but from needing anyone to complete you. You move differently. You speak less. You observe more. You build in silence so loudly that when the world finally sees you again, they have no idea how you became this version. And she will feel it not through a text, not through a post, but through the absence of your weakness, through the shift in energy when you're no longer searching for her, but using silence to evolve. The mirror effect. You don't crush her ego by explaining yourself. You do it by becoming a mirror, one she can't avoid, one that reflects every choice she made back at her with brutal clarity. Most men try to gain closure. They write long messages, pour their soul out, try to make her understand. But that's not power. That's surrender. That's begging for validation, and that feeds her ego. You want to shake her world? Say nothing. Let the silence speak. Let the consequences echo. When you stop chasing and start reflecting her energy back at her, something shifts. She's forced to confront herself. The attention she thrived on gone. The drama she used to control you dead. All that's left is her choices and your cold, calculated absence staring her in the face. This is the mirror effect. You stop reacting. You become the consequence not out of spite, but out of self-respect. You give her nothing to argue with, twist, or blame. Just her own decisions and the growing awareness that she lost a man who changed because of her, not for her. That's when self-doubt creeps in. Her confidence starts to fracture. Deep down, she expected you to fold, to beg to wait. When you don't, when you evolve in total silence, detached from needing her, to notice, that's when she feels it: regret, curiosity, and security. And the best part, you didn't force it, you mirrored it. You gave her nothing but her reflection. And that's what she can't stand. 5. Withdraw all validation. Ego feeds on attention. It survives off praise reactions. Jealousy, any sign that you still care. Even after she leaves, she might still orbit a like here, a random story view, a just checking in text. Don't take the bait. This isn't affection, it's ego maintenance. She's not asking, do you still love me? She's asking, do I still have control? Here's where most men lose. They validate her even in silence. They post thirst traps hoping she sees. They over-explain why they're done. They throw subtle shade thinking it'll sting. Every move like that proves she still matters. You want to crush her ego, kill the supply. Withdraw all validation, not with anger, but with indifference. A Stoic man understands attention is currency. Every light glance, emotional reaction is payment. and she's already overdrawn. You don't owe her closure. You don't owe her your glow-up announcement. Your silence and success are self-sufficient. You don't post to prove a point. You move like a man whose time is too valuable to waste on reminders. This is where her ego starts to starve. When she realizes your growth isn't a show, it's reality, and she's not in the audience. You're not trying to spark jealousy. You're simply done handing out your energy like free samples. She wanted distance. Give her the cold vacuum of being forgotten. The deeper you go into that quiet power, the more her ego fractures. Because what's worse than anger? Irrelevance. When she sees you don't even care if she's watching, that's when it hits her. She's no longer the center of your universe. She's not even a name you say out loud. 6. Transmute the pain into power. This pain you're carrying, it's not a curse, it's raw material. You've got two choices: let it rot you from the inside or melt it down and forge something unbreakable. A lot of men sit in the wreckage, replaying the betrayal, asking, "Why me?" But a Stoic doesn't ask why. He asks, "What now?" You want to crush her ego, turn the pain she caused into the catalyst for the man you were meant to become. The most dangerous man is the one who turns heartbreak into obsession, not with her, but with self-mastery, gym, business, focus, solitude. You dive into your grind with a fire she lit, but she doesn't get the credit, she gets the distance. And the man who comes out the other side, he's colder, sharper, scarier, because now he doesn't love out of need, he loves out of choice. Transmutation is about making her realize she didn't break you. She built you, not because she tried to, but because you refused to let pain win. You took every insult, every lie, every silent treatment, and you used it. You lifted heavier, you moved smarter, you cut distractions. Suddenly she doesn't just regret what she did, she regrets underestimating you. This is deeper than glow-up energy. This is elemental. You become a force of nature, calm, grounded, purpose-driven. The kind of man she can't reach anymore, not because you're hiding, but because you leveled up to a plane where she no longer fits. 7. Become the man she can't replace. Here's the brutal truth: most breakups don't hit her right away. She walks out thinking there's better, thinking you're just another name she'll forget, thinking she can replace you like changing outfits. That's where you make your move, not with words, but with transformation. You want to crush her ego, become the man she can't replace, no matter who she tries to run to next. That doesn't mean flaunting money or chasing status just to get back at her. That's weak energy. This is about becoming so centered, so high value, so locked into your purpose that the energy you radiate becomes irreplaceable. You become the man who commands respect without saying a word, the one who doesn't flinch under pressure, the one who carries peace like a weapon and discipline like armor. Think about it. How many men does she know who don't fold under emotion, don't chase validation, and aren't addicted to attention or ego strokes? Very few. And that's your edge. While she cycles through guys offering the same recycled energy, you become something different, rare, untouchable. This isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming the man you always had the potential to be. Without her, she was the storm that pushed you into focus. Now when she scrolls, hears your name, sees your growth, it hits her. She didn't just lose a boyfriend, she lost a once-in-a-lifetime presence. And what do? You keep moving. You don't gloat. You don't post cryptic shots trying to bait her. You just live so fully, so freely, that your absence becomes heavier than your presence ever was. 8. Build a new identity in shadow. You don't evolve in public. You rebuild in the dark, quietly, relentlessly, without applause. That's where real transformation happens. Not in the comments, not on the timeline, but in the shadows when no one's watching and you've got nothing left to prove. If you want to crush her ego, stop trying to be seen. Start becoming someone worth missing. This is where most men fail. They want her to notice the grind. They want her to feel regret in real time. So they post updates, try to signal change, beg for her attention without realizing it. But that's not strength. That's still performing. And performance is weakness. You don't need her to see you improve. You need to become so improved, so completely different, that the next time she hears your name, it doesn't even sound like the man she left. A Stoic builds in silence, not driven by revenge, but by rebirth. You cut distractions. You build a new system. You become disciplined in your sleep, your health, your focus, your vision. And you do it without needing praise. Because once your identity is rooted in who you are, not who you're trying to impress, you become unshakable. And here's the irony: when you stop trying to be seen, that's when they start noticing. She'll sense the shift, not through your posts, but through your silence, through the way mutuals talk about you, through the glow that only comes from solitude and evolution. She won't recognize you, and that's the point. This isn't just revenge. This is resurrection, and she's not invited to the second chapter. 9. Let her watch from afar. You don't need to block her. You don't need to hide. Let her watch from a distance she can't cross. That's where the real sting is. You're not being petty. You're being calculated. You've rebuilt. You've detached. You've become unreachable. Now she gets to sit outside your new life, knowing she doesn't belong in it anymore. Understand this: people crave what they can no longer control. When you were accessible, she took your presence for granted. Now she has to witness what she walked away from. And that's where her ego begins to eat itself. Not because you said anything, not because you tried to make her jealous, because you became the man she thought you never would. The one who doesn't need her validation to thrive. The key is subtlety. You don't flaunt. You don't thirst trap. You don't direct anything at her. You just move in strength. Post that project you launched, not the gym selfie screaming for her reaction. Share your mindset, your peace, your progress, not to flex, but to lead. Because now you're living for your mission, not her memory. She will see it. Maybe not today, maybe not next week, but she will scroll. She will hear, she will wonder, and when she does, the silence will hit different, not because you're gone, but because she can see what you've become, and she knows she's no longer part of that evolution. And you don't chase, you don't reach out, you don't react. You stay steady in your lane while her ego unravels in the rear view. That's power. That's how you win without saying a single word. 10. Forgive. For power, not peace. Forgiveness isn't weakness. It's not letting her off the hook. It's not pretending what she didn't cut deep. Forgiveness is the final flex. It's you saying you no longer have the power to affect me. And that right there is the death blow to her ego. Nothing shatters someone who expected to be hated more than being genuinely unbothered. But here's the truth: you don't forgive her for her. You forgive so you can let go of the weight, the anger, the questions, the cycles. Because if you keep holding on to resentment, you're still chained to her. And that's exactly what her ego wants, for you to stay stuck in that loop of bitterness, obsession, and pain. A Stoic man chooses to forgive not because it's easy, but because he refuses to let anyone rent space in his mind without paying. You don't forgive and then reach out. You don't forgive and look for closure. You forgive and move quietly, strongly, unapologetically. She expected a grudge. She expected backlash. She expected you to hate her forever. But when you hit her with grace, when you show that you're done, not out of spite, but out of evolution, that's when she feels it. That's when the regret hits like a punch she never saw coming. This is the full circle, the final frame. You're not bitter. You're better. And now she's not only out of your life, she's out of your head. That's what true detachment looks like. That's what real healing is. You rise not for revenge, not for applause, but because you decided no one gets to break you twice. You made it to the end. And that alone says something. You're not here to wallow. You're not here to chase. You're here to rise, to rebuild, to become. This wasn't about her. It never really was. It was about you remembering who the hell you are when the noise fades and the masks fall. You thought no contact was enough. Now you know better. Now you know becoming untouchable is the real move. So let her wonder, let her scroll, let her drown in the silence you command. While she plays games, you play chess. While she seeks validation, you seek meaning. And while she looks back, you look forward. This isn't about revenge, it's about never being that vulnerable again. It's about becoming the kind of man who doesn't need to be chosen, because he's already chosen himself. This is your era, one built on silence, focus, and unshakable self-respect. Carry it with discipline, speak it with action, and never again let anyone confuse access with value. You're not bitter, you're not broken, you're reborn.